Welcome back to the Wine and Dine Pod, the podcast where we drink wine and talk hoops. I'm Chris and that's Lyndsay. And we are recovering from the post-All-Star break malaise. We're back with another episode. We got a nice bottle of wine here. We got Villa Antinori. It's a nice Tuscan blend. Really, really good stuff so far. I got a little lucky at the store. Got a nice little discount on it. Shout out to... No, I'm not going to shout them out. But I do appreciate that I got the discount.
We do not give any love to the LCBO because they make my life
Nah.
really miserable trying to choose these
No,
wines.
we're not praising Lickball right now, but I did appreciate that I got the discount. The dude at the cash register hit me with the isn't this a great country? Yeah, the more you drink, the more you get to drink. And I was like, that's concerning, my friend. It was also one of those, oh, you can tell I'm not from here moments. Like I see how it is. Yeah, you're trying to sell me on Canada where I already live.
Yeah, well, we want you to stay. That's what it is. Yeah, getting points on your liquor is kind of the best. I get a disturbing number of them buying samples. It's great because in Alberta, it's all privatized. So Loblaws, I collect optimum points on my liquor. So
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, getting this for like $7.
We went with a
like this is nice for how much it actually costs, but paying $7 for a wine like this is like that's what you call a steal. I felt like Rob Pelinka. I really did.
Yeah, a little highway robbery.
Yeah.
Yeah, we chose a Super Tuscan this week, so when I went back to Italy, we haven't done as much Italian wine as we have. We love Italy and Italian wine, and we haven't really done any Italian wine. We just did a Rosé Prosecco, so decided to go for a Super Tuscan, because Super Tuscans are the best.
That's somewhat intentional. I think because my tendency would be like we would do a Super Tuscan like every other episode, so I think it's probably for the best that we kind of like intentionally tried other stuff.
If we had the budget, this would just be an officially sponsored by Brunello podcast. But we don't have the budget for that. So here we are. But yeah, the Villa Antinori. Antinori is one of the original families to actually create Super Tuscans. So between them and the Ruffino homies, they are one of the first to really create Super Tuscans. I guess for people unfamiliar with Super Tuscans, they're red wines that are made in Tuscany that aren't of a traditional... apologies if you can hear my cat meowing in the back somewhere. Looking after my parents' house, so all the animals. Could be some cameos today. Anyway, so in Tuscany, red wines are traditionally primarily made out of Sangiovese, and then there's usually some Cab and Merlot involved, but Super Tuscans are blends that are actually made that are primarily Cab, Merlot, Syrah, and then they sometimes will have Sangiovese because it's the grape to grow in Tuscany, but they don't really fit into, they're not a Chianti, they're not like the traditional red wines of that area, so they are called Super Tuscans, and kind of the way you can tell on a label is usually it has a different type of name. So usually with a Chianti, it'll say Chianti Classico or something like that. And the other thing you can look for on the label is it will say Indicazione Geografica Tipica, and that means that it's like a new kind of, so Italian wines are known as they have DOC usually or DOCG as the appellation on them, but because Super Tuscans are not a traditional wine made in that area, they created a new appellation sort of marker, which is called IGT. And so that just means that it's something that comes from that region that's not really traditionally grown in that region. So yeah, Super Tuscans are great though. You can get some pretty good value ones up to really expensive Super Tuscans. So this one's a pretty mid-tier, solid middle of the road. Excellent wine, but in middle of the road in terms of price, which is really nice because there are definitely lots of Super Tuscans that are in the hundreds of dollars per bottle kind of situation. So yeah, but they were created because Italian winemakers wanted to do something different and mess around with not having to make really traditional wine all the time. So they're really fun and they kind of fit what we're doing today because we're talking about some super players and sort of a little bit of All-Star break wrap up, a little bit of
The segue.
Oof, nailed that. I'm known for that. Obviously, not to toot my own horn or anything, but yeah, I don't know. They're fun. They're kind of a well-constructed wine. This one is primarily a blend of Cab, Merlot, Syrah, and then some Sangiovese. Did not specify the percentages of each, but I would definitely say it's more Cab heavy, a little bit more Syrah heavy. We are drinking different vintages, so you have a 22 vintage and I have a 20 vintage. So a little compare and contrast. Mine definitely tastes like it's got a little less freshness to it, a little bit less acidity, just because it's aged a little longer in bottle, I would say. It's a little less fruity than your average Super Tuscan. And that's Cub barking in the background. It's going to be a fun episode for me here, looking after these dogs. But yeah, It's pretty good. I don't mind it. I prefer my Super Tuscan to be a little more Merlot heavy when they're a little fruitier, but this one's pretty good. It's definitely got lots of like dry notes, decent tannin, not super overpowering by any means.
Yeah, mine's got like a nice dryness to it too. Like it's got a little bit of acid as well. Not like overwhelming or anything, but it's still got a pretty good balance though. Like there's a little bit enough going on behind that, but it's not super like fruit forward, but you can still get a little bit like the dark fruit, like kind of in the back a little bit,
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is nice.
For me, I'm definitely getting like a lot of like tobacco, like just because it aged in bottle a little bit longer. So Super Tuscans usually age for about 2 years before you release them. So the 2022 would be the most current vintage, I think. This one's a couple years older because it aged in bottle a little bit longer, and I definitely get a lot more like spice and tobacco and like the kind of those flavors that come with aging, and just a little bit less freshness. But yeah, there's still a little bit of berry, and it is a little bit floral actually on the nose, which is kind of interesting for a red. Kind of adds a little bit. It's just really mild, but it's there. It's pretty solid though. I would definitely recommend, and I think we made a decent choice here. So yeah, I guess should we dive into why we're here? These super players.
Yeah, exactly right. All-Star Weekend just happened. Obviously, everybody had 100 million complaints about it. You know, whether it was the frequent stoppages in play during the actual All-Star game, or like, hey, I know we're in the middle of, you know, a 10-2 run, but let's have Kevin Hart complain about all the players for 10 straight minutes. That seems like a
Yeah.
really good idea to put over the
What
PA.
What were your thoughts on All Star in general? Because I have to be honest, I didn't actually watch that much of it. I mostly just watched like kind of some highlights. I was busy that weekend, so I just really didn't have a chance to sit down and actually watch that much of it. But what were your kind of thoughts on the new format?
In a weird sort of reversal for me, typically I'll tune in for like the 3-point contest and the dunk contest and not watch any of the game at all. This year I don't know, I just had better things to do during the dunk contest and the 3-point contest, if I'm being completely honest. And I wound up just watching the All-Star game and I kind of liked the format a little bit. The four teams thing is a little goofy, but I think the lower scores kind of lent itself a little bit more towards something kind of resembling semi-competitive basketball. Guys weren't necessarily going all out, but there was at least a little bit of like a token effort on in spurts, which was kind of cool. But yeah, the stoppages were crazy. I mean, it would literally be. It wasn't even just between the games; it was during some of the games. They'd be like, "Hey, well, let's have a YouTuber come out and we're gonna do like a fucking 10-minute bit." It was really annoying. The players were annoyed by it. I know Trae Young talked about the stoppages kind of like fucking it up for him and not making him want to like go hard because of the the stretching and the routine stuff gets thrown off. But
Yeah.
I think there was potential there. It was just so goofy. Like there was a lot of it kind of de-emphasized the basketball, like the amount of stoppages and breaks that they had, and it kind of threw off the flow of it. But I think it was decent.
It seems really frustrating that the NBA is like imploring the guys to take the game more seriously only for them to take
Mm,
it less seriously. That's kind of what
mm,
stood out to me as like the main takeaway was that it's not that the players don't want to try hard, it's just that like why would they try hard if the NBA isn't even trying to make it a serious game. And I understand that it's about the fans and for the fans, but at the same time I think fans would enjoy better basketball. Like I think that the format is probably interesting and would have been better if there was just less stoppage is kind of the general consensus. I think you're probably there. Like the weird, I don't know, just the TNT guys being so involved was kind of strange. I didn't hate them being the coaches or like choosing the teams. I thought that was kind of
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, the
But
themes were kind of fun too. Like the team themes, like Shaq was like,
yeah,
"I'm gonna pick all the old guys." Chuck wanted all the international players. I thought
internationals.
that was actually kind of fun.
Yeah, well, and it was fun to think about it in like the context of say like the NHL that did instead of doing an All Star game, they did the Four Nations Cup. Which
Mm,
the thing I find really funny about it is that you know Gary Bettman's taking all this credit for being like, oh look at us, we did the even though he's the reason why we haven't seen these players in the Olympics for the last long time. But anyway, it's not the point. Bettman deserves zero credit for anything ever. But the tournament idea is really fascinating because inherently players are always going to play harder when they get to play for their country or something that just sort of seems more important, right? And I was like talking to my partner and I were talking about this and I was like, I kind of wish the NBA had enough players from say four countries, like say there was enough Serbians, enough Canadians, Americans, and like Frenchmen or whatever, and you could have like a four nations kind of situation. I don't even hate the idea of doing USA versus world because I do think that would add a little like element too of like all these European guys who kind of get the disrespect of like, oh, you don't think that, like, or European or African, like just the international players who don't get this respect of like, oh, you hate that we're the face of the league? Cool. Like, there's a little chip on the shoulder there or whatever, and you
Yeah.
get to beat Team USA essentially, because that's what
Yeah.
it would be. I think
The
that would
challenge
add
would
a
be
little
like having
spice.
enough all-stars from outside of the US to make that work though. Because
I
I
think
think there were
there's
even
enough
for this
now
format,
though.
there weren't enough to fill an entire team. Like, and that's what the
Yeah.
team split into three. So you'd have to have a few more, I think,
I think it would
or you'd
just
have to call
change.
up some guys who were not all-stars to
I was gonna say, I
supplement
think
the team.
it would just sort of have to adjust like how all stars get picked, because you even kind
Right,
of saw it, but because like the NHL with the Four Nations, like there was players on these teams who would not make a regular All Star game,
right.
right?
But they were
Like
like
Jordan.
functionally just national teams. Like
Yeah, they were.
for individual countries,
Yeah,
yeah.
they were. But I mean, if you were to do, but really, realistically, it was replacing an All Star game, and so there were some players on those teams that weren't All Stars, like like honestly, Jordan Bennington, not an All Star. He was in
Yeah.
that game, but in the finals and
I thought
whatever.
of it like as an Olympics preview more so than an extension of the All-Star game, if that makes any sense. Like I saw
Yeah,
it like
it
as
felt
a, you
like
know what,
that.
we realize people don't care about All-Star, we're just not even gonna do it.
Yeah, but it felt like that, except that it was also the NHL owning up to the fact that, hey, we fucked up by not letting our players go to the Olympics. Because that's like the main crux of that. Because at least with the NBA, like we get to see these guys in the Olympics, and that Netflix documentary that's out. I haven't watched it yet. I really want to, but just haven't gotten there yet. I've seen clips, obviously. But I do think you could sort of adjust, like for instance, you could, if you had even like if you lowered so players who weren't just straight up all stars, but maybe that next tier of player, like you have your Jamal Murrays that you could add in. You have I'm just trying to think of like other dudes off the top of my head right
Lou
now, but
Dort,
like
we're just thinking of
yeah,
Canadians now.
you could, yeah, pretty much. But there's some players that
Former
you could,
All-Stars like Rudy.
right? Exactly, like guys that maybe aren't necessarily like they're fringe all stars at best, anyways. But I mean, why not, right? And I think that at least it would add some kind of like juice to the matchups, and like I think it'd be interesting how you slot a player like Joel Embiid in, because he played for Team USA, but I don't know, he's a weirdo. He'll choose wherever he wants to go, whatever he wants to do. But you could add like
Highest
your
bidder.
add Bogdan Bogdanovic, right? You could add him in. Like he's a talented enough player. He'd definitely come off the bench, but he's talented enough. You could throw him on a Team World and he would fit nice enough, right? And he'd give you something. So I don't know. It'd be really interesting to see. And you have players too, like that maybe represent other countries in the international competition who grew up as Americans, right? So there's enough
Cat.
people. Cat, yeah. Oh my god. A name just came to mind and it completely like left my brain again. Oh my god. Anyways, whatever.
Paolo Banchero almost represented Italy.
Right? You could
Almost.
almost, yeah.
He
But you
can
have
atone.
like that's a good opportunity for someone like Franz Wagner to get in the game, right? Like Franz is
Hmm.
talented enough. He'll be an all-star probably in the next couple of years. So I think you have to open it up a little bit to rising stars, or something like that. But they did that already this year anyway. So it's not too much to Draymond's chagrin. But I mean, Draymond is just in that TNT, the NBA media mold of complaining about the game no matter what. So he's just bitter because he's no longer relevant, to be honest. Opinion.
The thing that kills me with the NHL thing, sorry to go back to that, but like
It's okay.
we always hear the stories about the '92 Olympics and basketball and how it grew the game
Yeah.
globally and all that. And NHL, the fans love to complain like, "How come nobody's watching our sport? How come nobody's talking about our sport?" Dog, the commish passed up an opportunity to have the entire world see the best players represent their countries on a global stage on national fucking TV, the
For
biggest
two
channel of every
Olympics.
country.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy.
Like you
Intentionally passed
robbed
that up.
people of the opportunity to see Ovechkin
Do you
and
hate money?
Crosby. Honest, they do. No, they do. And this has been my biggest beef with the NHL, just as like a queer woman, is I love
Mm,
hockey. Hockey's a really cool sport. Hockey as a sport is super fucking cool. Like we were like even watching. We didn't watch very much. I watched very little of the Four Nations. I'll be honest. We watched like the last part of the Canada USA final because like why not? I would love to see Canadians booing Americans in Boston. Just makes me happy. But I feel proud. Uh, but as a queer woman, it's just like frustrating because I'm like, they do nothing to make it interesting for new fans. Like the sport
mm.
itself is super cool, but they don't market the stars. Hockey culture itself is just so like, ugh. Like it's about the team, not the
God,
individual, and it just beats anything interesting out of players. And this is
the
why like
games are so boring.
I've always been a big Ovechkin guy because he's pretty fucking weird and he's pretty funny and he's always had a personality and like the NHL has tried viciously to beat that out of him. And he gets villainized and like any player who has any kind of like juice basically as a person gets absolutely like I don't know, just roasted. Like, I'll never forget. I mean, like, Niall Yakupov obviously was never became a great player, but I will never forget. And obviously, Don Cherry is also a big xenophobe. But again, when Niall Yakupov scored his first goal and when he played for the Oilers, he, like, celebrated. And it was like a pretty, like, it was a funny celebration. Like, he went pretty hard. But it's like, it's your first NHL goal. You should celebrate that. And Don Cherry dragged him for like 10 straight minutes. Whereas,
Goofy
if a
Soup
Canadian.
Man talking about
Yeah,
being
I
too
know.
extra.
But then if some like North American player did that, it would be totally fine. And it's like, you're just being a dickhead because some European guy came in, scored a goal, had a good time, and you're like, oh, it's not hockey. And it's like, fuck off, man. Like, I want to see players celebrate when they score their first goals because you never know how they're actually going to turn out in the NHL. Maybe they're not going to score many more, and he really didn't, right? So, like, let him
Mm.
enjoy that moment, bro. Come on. Like, it just, I don't know, it's a weird example, but that stuff pisses me off. For how, like, honestly, like, Don Cherry, again, but he really did speak for, like, for traditional hockey culture, I think, for the longest time. But they, like, absolutely, like, he hated and vilified Alexander Ovechkin for most of his career. And it's, like, because he dared to be, like, a personality. Like, he dared to be interesting, like, and actually kind of care about individual accolades a little bit. And I don't think it's a bad thing to want to care about individual accolades to some extent. You can want both. You can want to be both really good for your team and also for yourself because you want to be the best. Don't we want players to be the best versions of themselves? And if that means you have to compete against yourself for awards, then fucking do that. Like, I don't know. I think, was it Shea who just said it? Or there was a NBA player who was like, I want individual awards and I want to win. Like, I want both. And that's okay to me. You should be able to want to get winning MVP, like, should be something you do want to do. Like, as much as everyone ragged on Joel for saying he wanted to win it, it's fair. It's fair to want to win that award. I think it's different in Joel's case in the sense that he just has never been good enough in the postseason to be like, okay, like, maybe you should focus on that first and, like, win some playoff games. But, like, it's still okay to want to win individual awards. It's okay. And so, I don't know. I think that, like, hockey as a sport is just, like, so frustrating because the stars are so goddamn boring. And, like, I think that they could be better. I think so many of them want to be funnier and better. But it's just they've grown up in this, like,
I don't
really
know how.
traditional hockey culture, and the NHL does zero to market that. Like, absolutely nothing. Like,
Nothing.
absolutely
I
nothing.
saw I saw one of those little, like, let's make a viral video, like NHL social media things before the Four Nations. I think they asked everyone on Team Canada, oh, if you could have any artist at the Super Bowl halftime show, who would it be? And I was like, oh, let's see if any of these guys has any interesting
Music
taste.
taste?
No,
No.
not one. I'm
Yeah.
not even saying good or bad taste. I'm saying nobody had interesting taste at all. Nobody said an artist that wasn't like one of the three or four most popular, whatever. Like it was just so boring and bland. I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah.
I
Nine people
remember.
said Drake and four people said like Morgan Wallen or some shit. And I was like,
I
wow,
know.
cool,
I remember one
fascinating.
time after an All-Star game, they were like, "Oh, the antics were so good," and it's like the funniest thing was literally that Brent Burns wore a fucking Hawaiian shirt the whole time, or something, and it was like,
Yeah, yeah.
but
It's
like,
it's
but
it's
Burnsy is a good
dry.
example of like a player who honestly he could be like a Jason Kelsey for the NHL. He could have been,
Mhm.
right? Because he had that kind of quirky personality, but he just wasn't allowed to be that person. Or like Yaromir Jagr, honestly, elite personality in the NHL.
Coolest, coolest.
Amazing. One of the coolest people ever to play sports, frankly, in my opinion. And but hockey, like, I don't know.
Right.
It's
Like even on my team, like the most interesting guy on our team, maybe the only interesting guy on our team is a dude who famously does not have social media at all and like doesn't really engage with all that shit. Like Artemi Panarin is a
oh, Panarin.
fascinating dude,
I
but
love
like
Artemi
he
Panarin.
ain't really out here
Well,
talking like that.
to be fair, he also had his family threatened by the Russian government, so I feel like there's an extra added bonus to like
Fascinating.
incentive
That is the thing.
to stay away from the public.
Yeah, Breadman staying with that flip phone, man. He
Yeah,
really ain't. But
he's a
even
bit
the
like
other guys,
Jokic,
like
a bit like Jokic in that sense, just about his business.
yeah, not a lot of personality outside of that. Like
I mean,
Krebs
JT Miller is an interesting
is learning
personality in a
Russian,
bad
I
way.
guess, which is cool. Yeah, JT Miller. Oh boy. I've seen that gif of him punching himself during that fight against Canada over and over. That's fun. At least it was
He's
a
an
game that we
interesting,
won. So
like I said, he's an interesting player in a bad way
he's
because
a Ranger
he's
again. He's
a
back.
dickhead. Yeah, you're welcome. Have him back. I'm so happy he's gone. So
Well,
happy. It was fun while it lasted, but got
we're
real bad there.
delaying the inevitable, which is us not making the playoffs.
He significantly ruined my club's locker room, so pretty single-handedly tried to blow that shit up. So I'm glad he's gone.
Hope he blows up ours too. We got time to restart. Our team is old.
Man, yeah, he woof. Anyways, the Blue Lives Matter hat, just oof, no, they're thin blue line
Just
hat
don't
that he
talk
wore
to
too.
Shesty. Just don't ruin Shesty's life. Just don't fuck
Yeah,
it up for me, man.
right.
We need him. We need him.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone. That's how I felt
Put him
about
in
Pete.
bubble wrap.
That's how I felt about Petey. I'm like, leave Petey alone, JT. Get the fuck out of here, man. Leave him alone.
He did not. He did not leave him
He
alone.
did not leave Petey alone. Anyways, honestly, some of the best social media content around Four Nations came out of Finland, Team Finland. Just being a bunch of weirdos because Finnish people are always strange, and I love them for it. I adore them.
Asking the Finnish to say nice things about Sweden, and some of them were just like, no.
Can't even think of a single thing. And even the things they did say that were nice were not really like that nice. Like they were kind of just like still throwing shade.
Got some good hockey players.
Yeah, like it's amazing.
Or they would name one player. They would name one player they thought was good. Yeah. And it was always somebody who played on their NHL team.
Yeah. It's like a teammate. So they're like, well, I can't piss that guy off.
Yeah, I got to see him next week.
I'll never forget when they beat Sweden in the World Juniors. The World Juniors? The World Hockey Championship. Sorry, they won. It was like in 2008, I think. It was 2008 or 2009 when they won. They beat Sweden in the finals for the World Hockey Championships. And I just got into Finland, and there was T-shirts being sold with the final score on it. And I was like, yeah, that tracks. Or my favorite memory, too, was I was living in Finland during the Sochi Olympics. I went to go watch when Team Finland played Team USA in the bronze medal game, and that was Teemu Solani's last international game. So after that game, there was just a whole bunch of crying Finnish people in a bar, and I joined them because I was like, well, if everyone's crying, I may as well cry because Teemu forever. And then, like, I'm sad too, but then I'll never forget because Canada played Sweden in the Olympic final, and so I was watching in this bar in Helsinki, and every single Finnish fan was cheering, suddenly like the largest, they've cheered for Team Canada their whole lives. Go Canada! There was like a group of like 5 or 6 of us, and like these Finnish people like made us promise. The whole bar of Finnish people made us promise that if Canada won, we'd sing the national anthem for everybody. And
I'm gonna be honest, I was rooting for the Swedes. I was rooting for the Swedes.
Yeah, well, that's
one of the best players in Rangers history, Henrik Lundqvist.
Yeah.
Lifelong Swede. Gotta root for the guy.
Yeah.
Also, our biggest rivals in North America. Like I
was gonna say, like
them. Rooting for Canada in hockey is like rooting for the U.S. in basketball, where it's like the expectation is that they're supposed to fucking win. Yeah, you know what I mean? Well, it's like a heads will roll if you don't situation.
I will just never cheer for Team USA in anything. So
yeah. Most people won't who aren't from the U.S. unless they're like.
So like I get it as an American hockey fan that you're never going to cheer for Team Canada. Like I get it because if Team USA was playing Team Sweden in the Olympic final, I would have cheered for the Swedes. Like just
if the sport involves being cold, I'm not going to root for Canada. Like y'all supposed to win. The whole country's cold.
No,
there's no excuses.
No excuses. Yeah,
there's no excuses. You can't say we didn't have access to skis or rinks or whatever. Like no, you did. You absolutely did.
You did.
They were down the fucking street.
The money to participate in those sports, different story. But
oh my god,
that's
I was at
another conversation.
Fucking Canadian Tire and I didn't even look at snowboards. I just saw the boots were like $300, and I was like, damn.
The good news is they last you
up there.
Quite a long time. But yeah, it's true. Also,
they better. I imagine they're like H&M boots.
Sports where you are almost gonna die also seem like very much like a white person thing, but
yeah,
you know.
I should announce I am now the proud owner of some ice skates.
Hell yeah. All right. Mine got sold because I left them at my parents' house for too long. And they sold them.
I'm about to play for the London Knights. Call me up. Yeah. I'm ready.
If you were a goalie, you could be the emergency goalie. That's still like one of my favorite quirks about hockey. I played goalie
since I was 5 years old.
It's one of my favorite quirks.
I have a perfect 0.0 goals against average for my career.
It's like one of my favorite quirks about hockey is that like you always have a goaltender who's not even NHL caliber just on standby just in case because you need someone to sit in the net.
Yep.
So like I remember watching
manager who played in college, like
like the guy who ended up getting called up for Carolina, I think, that one game, and he became like a local legend. It's like that's just really fun. I love things like that. It's the coolest shit in the world. It's just like, and that's things like that make hockey a cool sport. So it's like really annoying that the NHL does everything in its power to make it less cool. It's like
it's like Rudy, but like you have an assigned Rudy on every team.
Yeah. And especially because goaltending is like such a specific skill. It's not like you can just have another player play that position. It's not like it's not like on every NFL team where like at least one other player has played quarterback at some point in their career because they were the best athlete on their high school team or something. Yeah. Goalie is a very specific skill set.
Yeah. You gotta be a specific type of person, so you gotta be a little weird to play goalie. But like I remember
you're on your own
and like every goalie ends up with like German Shepherd hips, you know what I mean? Like that shit is terrible for your body.
It's awful. Not good. Well, it's not
ever since they invented the butterfly, that shit is horrible for your body. And before they invented the butterfly, people didn't have fucking helmets and shit, so it was horrible for your body then too. It has always been unwise to play goalie.
Yeah. different parts of your body were always at risk, but it's not great.
Yeah.
And like skating,
Yeah.
like hockey, skating is already a very unnatural motion for humans. And then
Hmm.
goalie skating is even different because it's pure lateral movement.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We
thanks.
didn't evolve to slide along ice on blades, I think, is the thing about
Mm-hmm.
humans.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun.
Yeah,
It's fun as fuck.
super
I ain't
fun.
gonna lie.
Yeah, real fun.
That's why I bought
But
skates.
hell yeah. Anyways, basketball. So any more thoughts on All Star since we couldn't even bother to talk about it for more than 5 minutes?
I think we just got to keep Kevin Hart away from the NBA. Also, Mr. Beast, we don't need him there. He's not even like a basketball YouTube personality. You would think if we were gonna get influencers, we would at least get basketball adjacent influencers to be the NBA people. Like they're out there. It's a thing. They exist.
My other beef,
It's weird.
my other like very specific beef with All Star Weekend is how WNBA players play in the celebrity game. I think that's like
Yeah,
the most disrespectful shit in the world.
yeah, it's always been really fucking strange. And it's like I get that they're like, hey man, we want some scoring in the celebrity game, so we're not watching a fucking 10-8, whatever. But like WNBA players are real fucking professional athletes.
I would
They're real
actually,
basketball athletes too. They're not like this is
yeah,
a famous like football player. And yeah, it's a little unfair that they're playing against like rappers and actors and shit. But no, these are professional basketball players.
I
They have
would
no
actually
business being
rather,
there.
I would rather see a real celebrity game. Like I want to see Adam Sandler out there every year,
Yeah.
every
I don't
single
want to
year.
watch Cheryl Swoops ball up goddamn Jake from State Farm. Like
Yeah,
he has no business
no,
playing against her.
I want to see an actual celebrity game. I don't care if the score is bad. It's about the calamity. I
Yeah,
want to
that's
see
not what we're
DJ
here for.
I want to see Khaled like fucking brick everything because he sucks. Like I want that. And, like if they want to include it's like they're trying to throw a bone to the WNBA because it's like the WNBA is growing and they're trying to show these players, but like it just pisses me off that it has to be in a game against unserious people. Also, it's a
Hmm.
serious injury risk for those players, to be honest. But it also just is like really frustrating. Like have a WNBA like instead of the celebrity game, have a WNBA like thing. I don't know, find a different way to include them. But at the same time, like
Yeah,
honestly, I respected the hell out of Caitlin Clark for being like, I'm not participating in the 3 point contest. Like, first of all, she's not that kind of 3 point shooter, like off of a rack. She's like, I'm not training for that. But second, like, I respect that she's like, you're just trying to ride my coattails, bro. Like, no.
right.
Like, I want to
She
actually
did shoot the
focus
fuck
on
out of it last time though. Like she was
that was
shooting that
Sabrina.
shit.
That was
Oh
Sabrina.
no,
Yeah,
my bad.
Steph.
I forgot that I
Yeah.
thought they asked Sabrina the second time. I forgot they asked
No,
Caitlyn.
well, they did. They asked Sabrina and Steph if they wanted to do their shootout again. But I mean, that had some
Right.
like
That's what I was
coolness
thinking of.
because those two have a relationship, right? Like those two actually have like a personal relationship, so it makes it more interesting and fun. Like Caitlyn doesn't have that connection to any of those NBA players for the most part, and the fact that like it was just clearly the NBA trying to ride the Caitlyn Clark like train, the and it was kind of like I respected Caitlyn for being like, no, I want to focus on actually growing women's basketball. Like I'm not here to do this for you, like fuck that. And I respected that because it was like, yeah, I don't know, like she doesn't need to prove anything. Like
Right.
it's a no-win situation for her too because again, it was kind of a no-win situation for Sabrina to be honest, but
Yeah.
it's an even worse no-win situation for Caitlyn because she's just a bigger star. There's so much
Do you remember
discourse and hype,
the
so
two ball thing from back in the day on All Star Weekend? It'd be like two NBA players and a WNBA player teaming up to like shoot from a bunch of different spots or whatever. That felt less bad, if that
well,
makes sense.
because you actually had the WNBA players showing off a skill set against and like with other professional basketball players, like it equaled
Right.
out.
Right.
It actually, to be honest, what I would love to see is like so in curling, which I'm currently watching as we record. There's mixed curling, so like I would love to
Yeah.
see a mixed basketball team, like almost like an intramural, like a co-ed intramural.
Right.
But like do a tournament that way. Do the skills competition as like a co-ed thing. Like it doesn't have to be teammates, right? Like do something where actually these players get to actually show off skills outside of fucking bring back that horse competition they did during COVID, like just no dunking, like or whatever, like because there's certain things
Yeah.
that obviously like NBA players would get away with, but just like bring back something like that two ball thing, like you said, like that was way less insulting because at least it's like a real basketball skill with real basketball players. But I don't know, curling like mixed doubles is really common now, but it's like do like 2-on-2, do mixed doubles 2-on-2, like that'd be
So it'd be
fun.
kind of fun actually, because like even when there was like one year where they did horse with NBA players, and I think it was no dunking in that one too, just because like if you're the one guy who can do between the legs from the fucking free throw line
You're
in the
gonna win.
entire league, yeah, just do that five
And
times
this
and you're
isn't the dunk contest, so like go join the dunk
right. Also, it's
contest.
not the dunk
Yeah.
contest. So even when it was just NBA guys, I think the rule was also no dunking, because like how the fuck is Chris Paul gonna do any of this shit? I don't
Mm-hmm.
think he participated, but I think it was like Joe Johnson and some other people or some shit like that. I have to look it up, but yeah, it's
I would
Yeah,
actually,
I think that's a pretty good one.
in saying that, I would actually love to see like a co-ed mixed doubles. To be honest, I think it would be like
Hmm.
really fun. Like do 2-on-2. Like Hennessy had that 2-on-2 tournament that Enrique and who was she playing with? Enrique and someone. I can't remember who she was playing with. They won, and a bunch of WNBA players were in it. But 2-on-2 is like a pretty non-traditional format, but it would be really easy to do a 2-on-2 WNBA NBA pairings, right? Like
I just had a thought because like everyone's so we're gonna get to this in a minute. Everyone's talking about you guys got to do one-on-ones. You got to do one-on-ones like the women just did.
in Unrivaled,
I
yeah.
was just thinking 2-on-2 NBA Jam style. Two players from the same NBA team against.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who would agree to do it, but
I don't know how you incorporate if you're trying
I
to
like it in
incorporate
my
the
head right
W.
now.
I don't know if you're trying to incorporate the W. Don't know how you do that, but I still like the
I would just love
idea.
to see both leagues do it individually,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
totally.
or you could do same cities, right? You could have
Yeah,
Halliburton and Clark against I don't know Sabrina and the fuck
Watson or
plays for the
whatever.
Nets.
Nets, I
Somebody
guess.
who plays for
Yeah,
them. Yeah, because they play. They're there in Brooklyn.
but you could do city.
Goddamn
You could do the
Cam
Knicks too.
Thomas.
You could do the Knicks at
Yeah,
the end of the day too, if you wanted to keep
yeah.
like all stars, right? You could just keep even like region, because obviously there's certain WNBA cities that don't exist in the NBA and vice versa. But like you could pair Connecticut and Boston, for instance, like or
Well,
something like
Trey Young
that.
and Griner teaming up against
Spicy. Even Trey Young and Ryan
yeah.
Howard would be fun because Ryan's got a lot more size than him. Be a
Yeah,
lot
it will
of
be fun. The visual of like the WNBA player being way the fuck bigger than the
yeah,
NBA player.
it'd be good. But just I don't know.
Her
It'd be
him
fun to
throwing
see.
alley oops to her. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be fun.
But it would be
Yeah,
fun to see WNBA, NBA like 2-on-2 or even 3-on-3 or something. But just like a
that'd be
mixed
fucking
turn,
dope.
just like a mixed sort of because I don't know. Like that's one thing I've always appreciated as like a player of a sport like curling is that like you can have like women's teams play against men's team and it's like fairly like level playing field. And like women's basketball players often practice against men, maybe not NBA caliber men, obviously, but
Yep.
like they still
Former college
practice.
players usually.
But yeah, like they play against men, and so it's not like they can't
Mm,
get buckets. Like, and it's not that if it was like all women against all men, like maybe it would be tough. But I think you could easily mix it up and do like a mixed team, and it would be super fun because these players are all so skilled that it would just be like cool. Like to have a point guard like Chelsea Gray playing with like above the rim big or something, right? Like because the kind of
yeah.
passes she can throw would be crazy, or like just stuff like that, right? Like it would be really fun, and she's as good of a ball handler as anybody else. And if Kyle Lowry can make All
Right.
Star games, so can she. Like like she's
Give me
basically
a Rike and AD.
right. Like oh god, fadeaway jumpers for days.
Honestly, I like this idea. I would love to see that. Just two players from the same city, one
Yeah,
NBA, one WNBA, just going against each
right.
other. That'd be dope as shit.
Yeah, it'd be so much fun. And I think 2-on-2 is an interesting format because it's still got all the like styles of 1-on-1 because you do break it down to
Mm,
1-on-1 matchups a lot, but you get a little more
mm.
movement and you can kind of pair up like a big and a guard, for instance, and still run like pick
Yep,
and
yep.
roll or whatever. There's a little more option that way. But
Yeah, yeah. You can go
I
big for each league or small for each league. Like one
totally.
WNBA big and one WNBA. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Because I mean, Brittany Griner's like got legit size in any league, so you could pair
Yeah,
her with an
yeah.
NBA guard, for instance, right?
Right,
And I mean, most WNBA bigs are like the size of NBA guards, but
right.
whatever.
That big, like tall wings or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. It would be really fun, I think, to like actually get to, and it would also sort of force the NBA players to put their money where their mouth is in terms of like actually saying that they respect these women.
Hmm.
Because a lot of them say
I'm
that stuff, but I don't know how much they actually do sometimes. Like, you know what I mean?
so there's a few teams and players who have been
Not
good
to
about
question
it. Like
men
I
all the
know,
time, but
right, right. There's some that have been better about it than others. Like obviously you see some like they pop up in like a jersey or whatever, but like the one franchise that always kind of impressed me was the Phoenix Suns players pop up at Mercury games all the fucking time,
helps when
and
their
it's so
ownership
cool.
is the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Because even like Wizards
And
players,
they
like
play in
as
the
much as
same and they play in the same arena, which also
arena,
helps.
which I mean, as much as I don't love Bradley Beal, like he always showed up for the Mystics. They're not related. No, they're not really. No, they are related in ownership. Yeah, they are.
Sorry to them. That's a
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ted Leonsis. I'm pretty sure Ted Leonsis owns the Mystics. I'm gonna look
I
that up
think he
real
does, and he
quick.
was trying to move them to the suburbs of Virginia, if I recall correctly.
No, he was trying to move the Wizards.
He was gonna have just the WNBA team stay downtown from the Wizards move, I
Monumental
think.
Sports and Entertainment, yeah, so it's Ted
Yeah.
Leonsis. Because he was trying to move the Capitals and the Wizards to Virginia, and then because the Mystics play in like a smaller, they play in a
Hmm.
different arena, but in like kind of like how Atlanta plays in College Park, like the Dream playing in College Park. It's something like that,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
like the Mystics are more in the community in that sense, I think.
Hmm.
But from what I've understood, anyways. Anyway, It would just be really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would just change it up. I would just like to see the WNBA players respected more if they're going to be part of NBA All Star.
Right. Yeah, they don't need to be playing against the dude from fucking Arcade Fire or whatever.
Yeah, I just think that
That's
it's
silly.
it's another example of the NBA itself like trying to get in the way of WNBA growth because for years
Mhm.
they were always like, oh, the WNBA loses us so much money, loses us so much money, and it's like how? Please show us the numbers because they'll never show their work, but they'll always make that claim
Mhm.
that it loses so much money, and it's like okay, so then show us the numbers, like,
Bet it ain't losing money now.
right? Especially after like
The amount of
Cleveland
eyeballs it
Rockers.
gets compared to man, the amount of eyeballs it gets compared to the cost of player salaries, like there's no way it's losing money now, I'll tell you that. There's no way. That's why everyone's
Well, and
excited
it's
about the
like,
next CBA. That real money's gonna start coming to the players
and
soon.
that's why you see players like Caitlin Clark being asked to fucking go be part of the NBA All Stars because like they bring
Mm-hmm.
eyes because Caitlin Clark has a legion of fans. I mean, a lot of them are
Very intense
shitty.
fans. A
A lot of them are
lot of
not good
really
people.
intense fans.
A lot of them are
Woo.
not good people, but that's not the point. You know what I mean? Like you've got probably a lot of people in Iowa who frankly don't really watch a lot of NBA basketball who would watch if Caitlin Clark was there. Like, you know what I mean? Because a lot of these states are like really more about the college game than they are about. I mean, the Fever didn't know how to handle that when they all of a sudden had a lot more
But it's
fans.
not even
That
just people from Iowa. It's people who see in themselves see something in themselves in Iowans. You know what I mean? I
yes,
think
yes,
there's a
yes. There's a Larry
there's some
Bird-esque
they
Great White
feel
Hope
Iowa
element to
spiritually.
this. Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
yeah. I just need her to push
Plays the
back.
game the right way.
I need her to push back against it like Larry did. That's what I really need out of her. Anyway,
Larry Bird, man. The Larry Bird stories always kill me, man. Always. The way he felt like he was disrespected because the other team had a white dude guarding him is the
yeah,
funniest shit I've ever heard.
yeah. Um. Anyway, well, I guess in that sense, we may as well get to the get to the crux of the episode. So,
Right.
since fixing All Star, which we just did with I think 2-on-2 would be great. But anyways, Unrivaled had a 1-on-1 tournament, and it was a fun way to give the players some extra money, and also everyone wants to see the best players play 1-on-1, and so we felt like and everyone wants this for the NBA. I think the NBA players are big enough babies that they won't compared to the women, but that's just egos. But I still think the same reason they don't want to be in the dunk contest. But I do think it would be really fun to see a 1-on-1 game. So we decided to break it up, guards versus guards, bigs versus bigs, because we did see that kind of unravel a little bit in the Unrivaled 1-on-1. It was you had players like Aaliyah Boston playing against guards, which it was
Yeah.
fun, but there's some disadvantages there in some cases. Um, do we want to start with the guards? Or do we want to start with the bigs? We both picked 8 players, kind of bracketed a first round.
I'm going bigs first. I'm thinking, kaiju battles. I'm thinking Godzilla versus King Kong type vibes here. Buildings getting knocked over, all that shit. The first matchup that came to mind, and one of the players I don't even necessarily want to. It's not necessarily the player I want to watch the most in a one-on-one matchup. I just want the rivalry. You know what I mean? I want Victor Wembanyama versus Chet Holmgren in the first round in my bracket.
I had this one too.
Vic clearly does not like Chet.
I don't think Chet likes Vic either.
I don't think so either, and I think the spiciness of that, and then it's like dueling. What is it, like used car lot, inflatable arm, flailing dudes going up against each other, all arms, multi-skilled. The dribble, the threes, all that shit. I think it'd be fascinating visually. It'd be like watching Slender Man fight his clone.
I was it'd be
kind of dope.
I want slim boy on slim boy violence.
Yeah,
I had this one as one of my first round brackets too. I think that. And I'm with you on. I don't think Chet's almost kind of like the no name brand version of Wemby in the sense that they have very similar body types, pretty similar skill sets to be perfectly honest. Like Chet's a very good 3-point shooter. He can handle the ball. Like he's got the same skills as Wemby. I just don't think he's as good as Wemby. And so it would be a very probably one of the closest 1-on-1 matchups in the sense that they are basically the same person. In terms of size and height, and I just want to see limbs on limbs on limbs. And I agree, the spiciness is fun. It's like an actual real rivalry, and the fact that the Thunder are good now and the Spurs will be good soon, and they're not really that far away from each other in terms of geography. They will play each other frequently.
Same division.
It's nice because we don't get a lot of those real rivalries in the NBA anymore. Players just all kind of like each other too much. So I kind of like this legit spiciness. And yeah, I had that as one of my first round brackets, and I would pick Wemby to win that, just because, like I said, I don't think Chet has the same juice that Wemby has, but similar
I
kind
have
of.
Wemby winning it and absolutely screaming in his face afterward.
Yes, absolutely. And doing the most disrespectful shit ever to Wemby or to Chet. Yeah, same.
I don't know any French curse words, but I know he do.
Yep.
He's saying all of them.
Every single one. And they will not be censored because American TV won't know the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I have another one of my other first round brackets is similar kind of vibe, except I think they actually don't hate each other because I don't think this one player really hates anybody in the NBA. But I really want to see Jokic and Sabonis. Kind of same thing. I want to see the Jokic and the Kirkland brand version of Jokic playing against each other. I think that Sabonis has more juice one-on-one than I think people would be willing to admit, to be honest. He's, again, one of those kind of fringy all-stars, but I think that his skill set is just so fascinating, and, like, against each other, they would be... I don't know, I love a good post-battle, and they both have good enough face-up games, Jokic in particular, obviously, and they both got a bit of range, so, we'd see some shots from outside the block, but it would be very fun to watch. I mean... Similarly, I'd love to see Jokic versus Valanciunas. I just think that Sabonis has a bit more juice than Valanciunas, but just in terms of big man on big men, I really enjoy watching those two battle it out just because I love a good classic post battle, frankly. I'm still kind of old school, but I love it in the sense that I want to see skilled big men in the post against each other.
Right.
I don't want to see just banging in the post for the sake of it. Those two actually have
You don't
some
want to see
footwork.
a Charles Oakley versus, like, a fucking big country matchup.
Yeah, no, like I want there to be good footwork and crafty finishes because both have good touch around the rim and they can finish with both hands. They can pull out a good hook. They still have that hook shot. They've got those fundamentals, but they both still have enough bounce. Like they can dribble. They can dribble the ball. There's some front face-up game there. So I would really like to see those two play against each other. I think Jokic would definitely win that battle. He's bigger than Sabonis, first of all, which helps. He just put Sabonis in the basket, but they're both pretty strong and it would be fun to watch.
He might hit Sabonis with a new pivot that just, like, absolutely takes him out of his own shoes. Like, it might really... Like, there might be one player that's like, ooh, damn.
Feel like it would be interesting for Sabonis' dad to watch that because it would be like watching his son play the, like, evolved version, like the Charizard version of his Charmander.
Right.
Like, if Arvidas was Charmander...
He's Charmeleon.
Jokic is...
Charmander is Şengün.
Yeah. You're right. It's Şengün is Charmander, Arvidas is Charmeleon, and Jokic is Charizard. The evolution of the bigs. I'm definitely going to make that graphic for us for Instagram.
So I had a different matchup for Jokic. I had him going against Paolo Banchero because I just felt like Paolo seems like a very, like, get into your bag kind of guy. He's like if Carmelo was fucking huge. Like, Carmelo's big. He's bigger than I think people realize. He was like 6'8", 230, whatever. He was a strong dude. Paolo looks like Melo looks like a big wing. Paolo looks like a big, but he plays like a Carmelo. And I think that'd be kind of fun to have him in a matchup against Jokic, who's maybe not super accustomed to guarding that type of player. But Paolo might not necessarily be used to guarding a Jokic type of player.
I was going to say, I think that Jokic would bully him.
Yeah.
Paolo's faster, but I don't think he has, like, the same touch around the rim, so Jokic is going to eat him alive on rebounds. Because one thing about Paolo is that, like, one thing he'll get better at is just being more efficient and, like, finishing around the rim, especially through contact. And he will face some contact. Jokic is not exactly like a rim protector, but he's big. And he's got really fucking long arms and really good touch. And he's going to get those, like, nifty little rebounds to himself.
If this is a call your own foul situation, Jokic is going to give him a couple of nudges here and there, you know what I mean? Like a couple when he's going up. But yeah, I like that matchup. I think Jokic takes it just because he's like the most singular offensive force in basketball right now. But I think it'd be a lot of fun, though, because I think, Paolo could give him a little something. He'd make it closer than I think people realize, because I think he's really good one-on-one. Yeah,
I agree. Paolo's one of those weird ones where, so we put bigs and forwards together, and I feel like Paolo is very much a forward. Like, he's just not a five. But I'd actually really love to see Paolo and Franz, just as an aside. I would really love to see their practices, because I bet you they go one-on-one and practice a lot, and I think it would be really fun, because they're very similar players. Like, similar sizes, similar skill sets, both have, like... And they're just really fun to watch, and I'm just excited, like, as an aside, for that wing duo to, like, grow up together, because they're a good time.
Some tall boys.
Yeah. I think we have a similar one here with Katie and Braun.
Yeah, I've got Katie against Braun. I just feels like we've never really got to see them go against each other full time like that. Because when they play the Warriors, in the finals, it would be like Iguodala would be on the Braun duty, right? And LeBron would be kind of like free safety a bit on defense. He'd get matched up against KD sometimes, but not all the time. I want to see them really... And people always said, we wanted that Braun versus Kobe, like them guarding each other. Never was going to happen. LeBron's too goddamn big for that. But Braun and KD are more similar in height, not in weight, but in height at least. I would love to see them really just go one-on-one. And the contrast in styles would be crazy because KD, smooth handle, the beautiful pull-up jumpers, and LeBron will just like, he's got a nice, step back, whatever, nice fadeaway, but he wants to put his shoulder in your chest.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to do.
And I think it would be fun to see Braun play more of his like old school game, because now in games he very much plays like an old, he's obviously he's gotten old, right? So he plays like that. He shoots more from the perimeter, bit more. He's become more of a mid-range merchant than he ever was, and he's definitely more of a three-point guy than he ever was. And it would be fun to see him go one-on-one, because I think you'd see him get in his post bag again and go back to the basket a little bit and get physical with KD, especially because he's got like a weight advantage on KD. So I agree, it'd be fun. And like you said, we never get to see them actually like really match up against each other, even when they do play against each other, just because of team dynamics. And Braun typically plays more of like the four. Neither of them, they both kind of oscillate between 3 and 4, but like their roles are very different. And Braun often ends up playing point guard half the time anyway, so it's a bit different.
It's funny pulling up Braun's career stats on Yahoo Sports, and there's like a certain number of years that it shows before you have to like go to like another link. Yeah. It only goes back to 2013, which is his last year in Miami. That's how fucking long LeBron has been in the league. His last season with his second team is the farthest back this shit goes on the standard view. Like, he's just been hooping forever. Forever.
Yeah.
Nobody's breaking that points record. Nobody's breaking that shit. It's not going to happen. No. Unless we start getting bionic legs for people, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, because I can't even think of any young player. I mean, the only player I could see maybe actually having an opportunity to do it could be like an Anthony Edwards, provided he never really suffers serious injuries, because like he plays through most things. He's an electric scorer. He's pretty tough. Like he plays pretty much every game, right? Like, but even then, that's pretty tough. It's like how Wayne Gretzky's like record stood forever, and Ovi might actually get it this year, and I'm really rooting for it. Because fuck Wayne Gretzky. But I'm losing my Canadian citizenship for that, but I don't care. He should lose his Canadian citizenship for hanging out with Trump. But it's one of those records where I feel like it is going to be really hard to break Braun's record, because that kind of longevity is unprecedented. Like, absolutely
been a 25 point per game scorer since he was 18 years old. And he is in his 40s now. Yeah. I just don't know. It's almost implausible that somebody could do that unless they were like 85 feet tall.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean that as an exaggeration. I mean literally 85 feet tall. Okay, so Braun and KD. Who's your last bigs matchup? We're doing 8 and 8. 8 guards, 8 bigs for our little bracket.
I got Giannis and Kat.
Same.
Yeah.
I had to put Kat in there because
he's got too much skill not to, frankly.
Yeah, he's got too much, because he can hit a jump hook in the post. He can do a little bit off the. He's a little goofy off the dribble sometimes, but he can take the ball in the basket as long as nobody is there trying to take a charge, which he will absolutely run into. Everything is fine, and then the 3-point right, the shot is incredible, right? So yeah, I had to put Kat in there. This isn't even like Knicks bias. It's just like you got to put him one-on-one. I'm curious what he would look like against and then Giannis might be a tough matchup for him, because that might be the one guy who could just genuinely lock his ass up one-on-one, because he is just, I mean, he is, the physicality, the quickness, the size, the length. I mean, that might be the one guy that, I feel bad putting Kat in that matchup. There were other guys I wanted matched up specifically against each other, so this one might be a struggle for him. Maybe I should have put him against fucking Banchero or something, but
well,
yeah, Giannis might eat him up. He might eat him up.
Stylistically, I feel like Giannis and Banchero would be the most similar players in terms of just like they both are kind of like, not to say they don't have skill, because they do, but they don't have the same finesse that someone like Kat or even like Jokic sometimes has, right? Like they play with pretty brute force and athleticism, so I think that's different. But like Kat versus Giannis is very much like their weaknesses and strengths are kind of like Kat's strength is his scoring and Giannis' strength is his defense in that sense, and vice versa, where like Kat's not a great defender necessarily one-on-one, and Giannis isn't necessarily like the most finesse scorer, but he's got brute strength and he'll get through Kat to the rim. So kind of, I don't know, it's a really fascinating matchup that I actually would really like to see. And
he might Eurostep Kat to hell, though. I mean, like,
yeah, 100%.
He really might. Like
he not to say that again, like I don't want to make Giannis sound like he has no skill, because I'm not like James Harden who thinks that, but just like Giannis,
he's not running dunk man.
Yeah, no, he's not. But he just doesn't have, say, like the outside shooting that someone like Cat could, where he can hit those fadeaways with like, the same, or even like a Dirk play, like a Dirk, where you can just hit those like turnaround jumpers like it's no one's business. But he's got great footwork in the post, and he's got obviously a great vertical and foot speed that I don't think Cat necessarily has. So it'd be a
Yeah,
fun matchup.
the
Not a
fun thing
lot,
about
yeah.
Giannis is like he's not like what like the typical like deep bag guy or whatever in the way that some guys are. But you're talking about a dude who every team
It's
he's ever played
effective.
against has tried to jam everybody in the paint to stop him, and he's still shooting 61 goddamn percent while scoring 31 points a game.
Yep.
If imagine you think about him, people don't think about him as a one-on-one player, but I'm just thinking about what does Giannis look like when there's no help defense?
Well, yeah, because you can't
That's
build a wall.
scary.
You
That's
can't build a
scary.
wall. Like the whole build a
You
wall
better
thing
you better
against
have
Giannis.
you
Yeah.
better have a gun. Like I don't know how you're gonna stop him. Like I really don't.
Bring a weapon. Yeah. A crowbar
Yeah.
to the knees. Like you got to Tanya Harding him because that's the only way to
Yeah.
stop him. Like
It's gonna be a 45-minute game because it's gonna be a wrap up foul every time he gets the ball. They're just gonna have to
Yeah.
say, look, he just wins by default, man. That's a forfeit.
Cat's gonna have to take a tire iron to his knee or something because there's no other
Or
way.
something. After like the fourth time he's dunked on me from outside the charge circle, I'm like, we just have to fight now. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
lose, but we just have to fight.
We just have to. It's for pride at this point, man.
My kids are watching. I can't do this.
Literally. Who did you have winning that?
I got Giannis winning it. I wouldn't be surprised if I had him winning the whole goddamn thing.
I kind of took Cat winning just because I think Cat would sink a step back three or something and just have a points advantage from that sort of situation. Like Giannis can hit threes, but I don't think it's in his bag to hit them one-on-one fully, And so I think Cat could like hit him with a 3-point shot and just win by 1 point because he's got that extra point kind of thing. So for me, I would have had Cat playing Jokic and then KD and Wemby in my second round. The way
Are we assuming it's not make it take it? Like we're assuming it's alternating possessions? Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to see somebody lose 11-0. That's not fun.
No,
That's not fun. I don't think the NBA would allow that shit either.
Well, and I don't think the
It'd be,
players would either because I don't think their pride would allow that. Frankly.
Privately, maybe, but not in public. There's no
No.
fucking way. Because these guys are. Don't forget about NBA players. Like when they play these like one-on-one games against each other, the shooting percentages are so fucking outrageous that like if it was make it take it, literally the other guy might not ever touch the ball.
Yeah, totally.
Without the stress of an NBA game and fucking running around and the tiredness and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
These dudes are making almost everything.
Just cooking one-on-one. Totally. I agree. I thought alternating possessions for that reason. But yeah, I would have had, so my next round would have been, Jokic and Cat and then KD and Wemby. And I kind of, again, the Wemby-KD matchup would be really fun for the limbs.
It would. I think if it's young KD, I think at this stage in his career, where Wemby's at right now, I think KD takes it pretty comfortably. But older KD, I mean,
I think he's got it. I mean, the thing about KD, though, is he's got that, like, it's a bit unfair because I think Wemby still has lots of development still on the
right.
face-up game left, whereas KD has honed those skills. So veteran KD against young Wemby might be tough for Wemby, I think, in the sense that just on offense. On defense, I think Wemby would make life really hard for Kevin Durant because he's still got size on KD. But it's like OG Slender Man versus New School Slender. It's kind of, again, like that, the Pokemon evolutions.
Right.
KD is kind of like the Charmeleon in this situation, and Wemby has the
KD
potential.
KD walks so
Wemby.
Wemby can run. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, 100%.
Or I guess KD ran so Wemby could fly. There was probably someone before them who was much worse. Jonathan Bender walked so KD could.
Honestly, though, yeah, I feel like
Actually, I think they might have been peers. That might not even work timeline wise.
No, probably not. But still, the point
Yeah.
remains. Somebody walked so Wemby could run, and I feel like, I think it would be like KD. It'd be hard for him because Wemby obviously just has go-go gadget arms and can block everything. And I think he's put KD in hell when they've played each other. I just think that Wemby offensively doesn't have quite as much as KD does in his bag. And that's just an age thing, and it will come for Wemby. I think also the types of situations that Wemby plays in, like playing for the Spurs in a pop offense, like you're never really going to have that. Well, he will develop those skills. He's just going to. But it's not going to be what he's doing for his whole career either necessarily. Like KD is absolutely like a scorer. And Wemby will be, but in a different kind of way. He's always, I think, going to need a point guard still to really kind of like make it all work. Not to say that Wemby doesn't have the potential to be a great one-on-one scorer or anything. I just think he probably is a little more traditional in the sense that it'll help to have a guard who can kind of kind of do that, whereas Katie really is kind of a guard in a KD body.
Yeah, Katie's handle is unreasonable for somebody his size. It actually borderline doesn't make sense. And there's other guys who are 6'8" up who have been great who's been great at things when they're handling the ball, like like LeBron. But in terms of actual ball handling technique, just like the quality of his crossover is stupid for someone that size. It makes no
absolutely
sense.
And that's, I think, something that maybe Wemby will get there, but he's just honestly slightly too. He's a lot taller than Kevin. His arms are longer than Kevin Durant. He's taller than Kevin Durant.
Tall as a motherfucker.
So it's really hard to have that kind of ball handling skill. Like, even Jokic's ball handling skills don't make sense for someone his size. Is another player where, like, the fact that he can just go behind the back like that is like, damn.
Yeah, like under duress, on the break, like, it's
my God,
impressive.
like that one highlight against the Kings where he literally he broke every ankle of every Kings player. It was just like, that doesn't make sense. And it was before he even won MVP. So, like, him and Katie are kind of in, like, a tier of their own on that sort of sense. But I think Wemby obviously has tons of potential. But I don't know who I even have winning that matchup, to be honest. I can't really. I think Katie, probably, but
I think I'd take Katie, too. I'd take Katie, too. I gotta give respect to the legend. I gotta give it to Katie.
Same. Like, I think until Wemby is at that sort of status, like, until he's a couple more years in the league, I'm still going to give Katie the benefit of the doubt on winning that. And then Jokic-Cat would be my second matchup, and I think I would take Jokic over Cat, but some of that's just homerism, and the fact that I think Jokic just has a deeper bag than Cat.
Yeah.
And neither of them are great on defense. I think Jokic has better rebounding skills than Cat and more of a want to rebound. And I think also he's
Cat leading the NBA in rebounding.
He's playing for a coach who wants that too. So I think that he's kind of had to adjust. Honestly, Cat has adjusted his game so much since he got to New York. It's been pretty cool. Like, the fact that him and Tibbs are actually, like, working well together now. I think Cat grew up, honestly, and getting out of Minnesota, like, I think he has to rebound now too. It's not like he has someone like Rudy or whatever to, like.
Yeah, no, he's the lone big. He gotta.
Yeah, he's got to rebound. But I think that Jokic is a better quality rebound. I think Jokic is being a bit bigger too. He's got the strength that Cat. But it would be a very good matchup because they're also kind of friends, which is low-key really funny. But I think, again, I think Jokic is actually just friends with everyone, to be honest with you. I don't really think he hates anybody in the NBA that much. And him and Kat both have that same kind of goofy personality, so they vibe together, which is pretty fun. But I think I would take Jokic over Kat, but it would be pretty tight. And then Jokic-Katie probably Katie would win that. But it would be fun to watch.
In mine, I got Wemby beating Chat. I've got Katie beating. Oh, I didn't even say who was going to win Katie Braun. I'm going to take Braun over Katie, surprisingly. I'm going to have him brute force his way through there. I'm having him beating Wemby too.
Yeah, I could see that.
I'm taking Jokic over Brian Carroll. I'm taking Giannis over Kat. I'm taking Giannis over Jokic as well.
Okay.
I don't think he can stay in front of him.
That I could see. Like, that matchup I think I could see because, like, they're both super strong, so it's not like Jokic can out-muscle Giannis quite the same.
All he needs is a couple stops.
Yeah.
Just a couple. And then I think I've got Giannis beating Braun in the final.
Yeah, I could see that.
If it was younger Braun, I think I'd comfortably take LeBron in that matchup. But
same.
I got him cruising for the bigs. I got him going on to play the winner of the
LeBron in
guards.
his prime Braun, I would also take Braun, but current Braun, I would take Giannis for sure.
Yeah, prime KD. If it was prime KD and prime Braun, I'm not putting them in the first round against each other. There's no fucking way.
No.
I'm setting it up so they play in the finals.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Cool. So I guess moving on to the guards. Shout out to Greece. And shout out to Giannis for he's invested in one of Greece's oldest wineries. So we're going to definitely be doing some research, and hopefully we can get some of that wine on here because it seems like it should be. I'm actually really excited, just quickly as an aside on that, I'm actually really excited that he's investing in a winery like that rather than just starting his own.
Right. Because
I think, I don't know, there's just something kind of cool about it. I think because for our sake, accessibility probably will be easier this way. But I don't know, there's just something fun about him investing in something that's really, like, important to Greece's culture as well. Like, a winery that is pretty culturally important to them because it's been around a long time, since, like, the 70s, I think it was. So it's been around quite a long time. And, like, for instance, like, Melo's situation is a bit confusing because I don't know that he owns the vineyard in France. I think he's basically buying grapes from them and producing wine, where he doesn't really own that vineyard because it's almost impossible to own a new vineyard in France. There's no space left.
Right. Yeah.
That's
all
why
I know is I wasn't able to get my hands on a bottle, so.
That's why Oregon's become so popular, is because for French winemakers, is because it has a very similar climate to Burgundy, and you can't get new vineyard space in Burgundy for the most part, right? So it's very interesting with Mellow's situation, where I think, and the fact that it's basically still an American company, but I think they're just producing wine in France, like they're essentially like not white labeling, but that kind of situation is what it seems like. I don't want to say that for sure. I don't really know, but that's kind of what it seems like. So I kind of like that Giannis is not necessarily even putting his name on the wine. He's just becoming an investor, which is fascinating. Versus obviously all the guys in Oregon and California where there's tons of space left. You can just create your own vineyard if you want to. So there's merits to both things, obviously. But
Right.
shout out to Giannis for investing in Greek wine. I'm happy that he's also investing in Greek wine and rather than just being another Napa Valley guy,
Right.
because frankly I'm kind of sick of the Napa Valley investment.
Mm-hmm.
In part because Napa Valley wineries, and like not all of them, but lots of these places are just, they're cutting a lot of corners now, and it's kind of boring. And also, frankly, like I'm sick of seeing mega purple in wine, but also, frankly, American wine is kind of, Napa Valley Cab is kind of just like a bit overdone right now, especially depending on the price point you're going to, like the Hardin price point. He's the problem. Honestly, the biggest problem with Hardin's wine is that he's going to really just struggle to compete with the tens of thousands of other products that are in that same like price point range. He's not making something that's like exceptional like small batch winemaking kind of situation. He's like in the volume game a little bit, and that's going to be really hard to compete. So like,
You're saying James Harden is a volume shooter? That's crazy.
Shocking. It fits him, I know. But it is just really interesting that he went that route versus like the really high quality, like really high end, like luxury sort of side of it, which again, I kind of respect it because it is nice to be able to get a player wine for that price point, but it's also difficult because I can't say that it's better than anything else I've had at that price point. So
I'm glad that I don't have to be James Harden to afford James Harden's wine. It made recording that episode a little more convenient, I gotta say.
100%. Absolutely. I agree. But it's also probably also I'm not going to gravitate towards buying it again because there was nothing that was like super exceptional about it other than his name is on it.
There's other stuff in that price point that you can get that's at least a little bit better.
Or
it was
that
still pretty good. It was still pretty good.
Or that I'm more familiar with, or that's easier to get in some cases because really I think there's only one liquor store in Alberta that sells his wine. So, for instance, it's just like, or one chain that does for the most part. So it's like, yeah, it's just kind of, it kind of risks getting lost. And celebrity wines in and of themselves don't necessarily sell because of the name. If they're going to sell, it'll be because of the quality of the wine to some extent. So yeah, I don't know. Like for instance, like Post Malone has a rosé, and it's a Côte de Provence rosé, and it's actually like a really good rosé. So it sells because it's a Provence rosé. And people like it, not because his name is on it. Most people who buy it don't.
I feel like he should be selling like his own label of like Everclear or like
most
his own
people,
like a flavor of Bud Light or something like that. It should be like
I agree. Or like a like the cheapest possible kind
Lime-A-Rita or some shit like that. A wine cooler maybe.
Bud Light Lime.
I feel like that fits his like image more. I'm not saying that he can't get nice wine or that he won't appreciate it, but
his
wine
that
suits his like.
His vibe, yeah. His wine doesn't sell, though, because his name is on it. It sells because it's a Côte de Provence rosé, and people like that shit. And it's a good quality wine. His name is not what's selling it. Most people who buy it have no fucking clue who he is. So celebrity wine is kind of weird in that sense, where I'm personally happy that Hardin's wine was available to us, but it's also kind of like, I don't know. It's really interesting. It's going to get lost.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if any of the NBA players who have a wine have one that's at the level of Drew Bledsoe in the NFL. Like, his wine is...
I mean, lots do.
It's good.
Because
it's good.
Well, I haven't personally tried some of them, but like for instance, like in that like luxury portfolio, almost all of them are in the luxury portfolio. Because like Channing Frye, the basketball player. He's involved. Him and Kevin Love are involved in a winery in Oregon, and CJ McCollum started his own in Oregon as well. His vines should be producing probably pretty soon, I would think. I think he started it in 2019, so he's probably going to be producing.
Well, I mean, like in terms of like quality, we don't know how good that one is yet, I guess.
No, but in terms of the luxury tier of quality,
yeah,
like Domaine Curry, which is not technically Steph's wine, it's his wife's, but it's produced from Mondavi Oakville, which is like one of the most like important wineries in Napa Valley. Shout out Domaine Curry. I actually get to sell Domaine Curry, so that's fun. But I haven't tried it yet. But I know that the juice. I knew that the juice comes from a really high-end vineyard that would be on line with Drew Bledsoe's. The Deladon wine, her Oregon Pinot, I think is like very high quality.
Yeah.
Channing Frye, actually, he did a collaboration with Lingua Franca, which is another Oregon winery that I get to work with, and they're a very high-end winery. They did a collaboration together. I think Sabonis's wine is meant to be kind of in that luxury tier as well. I like that Melo is trying to do both. So he's kind of got like the luxury tier of his wines, and then those ones that we looked at that were just way more like reasonable price. But that's also something
that's already like the same shit. He's got the $20 one and like the $90 one.
But that's also something he can do because he's working with old world product and like old world vineyards. Old world wine generally for the value is just better, frankly. Better quality for less money. So his even like lower tier quality, like lower tier price point wines are probably better quality than some of like, than say for instance James Harden's wine. Like in that kind of, if you're meant to be in that price point. So that's really interesting. I'm trying to think who else. I know like
I'll wear a Melo jersey a couple episodes from now if he sends us a bottle.
I would love that.
I already own it, so it's no extra cost to me.
I mean, sweet. I was actually going to see potentially, I'm going to talk to my friend, shout out Lorraine. She listens to our podcast sometimes. She lives in Oregon. I was going to see if I could ship some Mellow wine to her house, and she'll just reship it to me.
Hey, there we go. There we go. I'm genuinely curious to see if it's good. Like, he seems like he takes it seriously. He had a podcast where he drank wine.
He's producing Côte d'Aron, and Côte d'Aron's delicious, so yeah, can't be that bad.
I got high hopes.
Sure.
I got high hopes.
It can't be worse than the James Harden wine.
I hope we're looking at least a second round of the playoffs caliber wine from Carmelo there.
That's the dream there, for sure. I feel like athletes in wine, though, the frickin' Cooper DeJean and Blankenship, they're ripping off our idea, this exciting Whites podcast that's coming. I think we need to harass their social media when it gets going and be like, hey, you stole our idea, come on the podcast, or let us on yours.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Apparently he's got a brother who's even bigger and more athletic. We'll see he might be Kansas State gave him an offer. We'll see how that goes.
DeJean?
Yeah, his brother.
Okay.
He's like 6'4", I guess. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Something that's lived rent-free in my head is on the Ringer Fantasy Football podcast, I think Danny Heifetz said it, that all NFL players basically wanted to play in the NBA, but they were too short. And that's like, it's all I can think about ever, especially in relation to the celebrity game when you have like freaking
NFL players doing like fucking windmill dunks like it's nothing. Like,
and it's like they all wanted
259 pounder just floating through the air and doing all this.
Micah Parsons just like dunking on everyone, and you're like, okay, you square man.
I think Terrell Owens dunked like 6 times at a celebrity game. Or
it's like different with wide receivers because they're at least more like basketball player shaped. It's funnier when it's like a linebacker like Micah Parsons, and you're like, this man is a bowling ball. Like what?
The best. I've seen highlights of Vince Wilfork playing basketball. It's fucking incredible.
And the other thing too, that actually, speaking of fixing the All-Star game quickly, Danny Heifetz also said that we should switch the Pro Bowl and the NBA All-Star game. So the NBA All-Star game should be the NFL All-Star game should basically just be a bunch of NFL players playing basketball, and then the NBA All-Star game should be a bunch of NBA players playing like flag football or some shit, because like they all wanted to play football at some point, but they were too tall. So it's like, I would really love to see that shit.
I guarantee in the all NFL player NBA basketball game, somebody's getting hurt. Because the thing about football players is they play basketball like it's football. As somebody who used to hoop with the K-State football team sometimes, or some of the players, dog, they're still looking to run people over the same as they do on the football.
And they also hate each other more than NBA players hate each other. And they also have legitimate hate for each other in a way that NBA players don't have for each other anymore. Yeah, but it's true. It'd be really fun to see a bunch of NFL players play in the NBA All-Star game instead. You'd get more players involved probably. But anyways, back to one-on-one tournaments if men had egos big enough for this. I didn't have egos too big for this, sorry. That's what I meant to say.
Here come the guards. So my first matchup, I've got, you had to put Kyrie in here. Like, one of the best ball handlers we've ever seen in the sport. Kyrie Irving is an automatic participant and one of the early favorites, right? I've got him going up against old man Chris Paul. I want to see what sneaky footwork tricks, what kind of leaning, goofy-ass mid-range jumper to the right side he's going to pull off, what kind of dark arts he's going to try on defense to try to get the ball off people. I want to put Chris Paul in the first round matchup against Kyrie Irving. And I think Kyrie's going to win, but I think Chris Paul can keep it more competitive than people realize. Because I was just thinking, who's got the nicest handles? And Chris Paul, that shit is on a string. Kyrie obviously is the sauciest handle we've ever seen, maybe. But Chris Paul, man, people forget what kind of shit he was on when he was young. And he's going to lose this one because of age, but he's nice.
I'd rather have seen prime Chris Paul against Kyrie, personally.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I also had Kyrie, but I had him going against Trae Young because I think that Trae Young is also sort of a spiritual successor to Kyrie in terms of just being a small guard with insane handles. Like that sequence in the All-Star game when he like nutmegged and then did a nutmegged someone and then threw a no-look lob to Wemby was like, okay. And it's funny because I've never really been a Trae Young person, to be honest with you. But I feel like in the last couple of years, I'm starting to come around where I'm like, maybe the disrespect is just kind of real for him. Because, like, he is really good. I don't think as a team building element, he's going to be the best player on your team in terms of winning a championship. Because he just can't be, because he cannot defend. He's too small. But his handles, like, there's no doubt that he can pass the ball, that he's got great handles, that he's, like, a really good playmaker. So I think that as far as like an NBA team building exercise goes, it's interesting, but like for one-on-one players, he's definitely someone I'd like to see again. He's going to get cooked on the other end.
Yeah.
But I mean, so is Kyrie, let's be real. He's not exactly like the best defender. He can be when he wants to be, but at this point in his career, I don't think he's even who he was then. So it's both small guards, whatever. But spiritually, I think that they're kind of similar and it would be really fun.
My hot take is that if Trae Young was cooler looking, like just in terms of his actual aesthetics, he would probably be a more respected NBA player.
He didn't have the Benjamin Button hair.
Obviously extremely good, but he just looks like a dweeb, and I think that works against him in some ways.
And I think the fact he also plays in Atlanta and the Hawks have just been like
anonymous a little bit.
Like doomed to be 500 forever. Like I don't know what kind of curse was put on them, but yeah, that's what it sort of feels like.
Curse of Danny Ferry, I guess.
Yeah.
Deserved.
I don't know.
So my other first round, my next first round matchup is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander against James Harden.
Okay.
Similar
I also have one of those two players.
Similar-ish in stature, both very, very skilled ball handlers and very like sort of off-rhythm type ball handling games. Harden will lull you to sleep and then hit you with some shit where you're just like, damn, I thought he was going to continue to go between the legs for the next 25 minutes, and he sure showed me. And Shai, obviously, curly smooth game, shoot it from all over inside the arc. I think it'd be a fun matchup. I think Harden's strength might help him a bit here, but I think Shai, just because of Harden's age right now, I think Shai probably wins that matchup. I think they're like the same height, but Shai's just long as shit.
Yeah. Maybe Shai's built more like, a little more proportionally built like KD than he is Harden, but they're similar sizes. I also had Shai here, but I had him against Ant Edwards. I left Harden off my list, I think, just because his one-on-one game is, he's got a bag, but he just doesn't get into it very much, and I'm kind of bored. I feel like he's just going to shoot step back three on step back three, and I'm bored with that. I think I just watched too much Harden one-on-one in NBA games when he played in Houston, and I'm over it. So I went a little younger here, and I put Shai and Ant next to each other, because I think this is one of those situations where maybe as a first-round matchup, also probably not great, because I'd want to see both of them play in the finals, in the sense that they're both like the next two kind of young guards, I think, that are going to really like take the mantle, as far as just like those. They're both explosive, I feel like, but in different ways. Shai, you can't speed him up, but you can't slow him down. He gets to his spots. He's, like, hitting his shots. Ant is a little more explosive, like, as far as, like, dunking and stuff like that goes. But, I don't know, I just feel like they would be very fun against each other. I think they're also, same thing, built pretty similarly. Like, I think size matchup-wise, they're pretty similar, but they both have deep bags. I think I would take Shai winning it, just because I think that Ant's shot selection can get a little bit interesting.
I think Shai's just a better ball handler than Ant is in general as well.
I think so too. Shai just has that shit on a string. But yeah, I think it would be fun. Also because both of them can play defense against each other. So yeah. Want to
go my third matchup? You said you have Shai winning it. I've got Jalen Brunson against LaMelo Ball.
Boy.
It's a pretty big size disparity for 2 point guards. Like one's listed at 6'2", one's listed at like fucking 6'7". LaMelo is kind of an unreasonably good ball handler for a 6'7" player. Kind of a careless one. Brunson is. I mean, he's better at driving to the basket than he is at driving his car. I'll tell you that at least. Jalen Brunson
hasn't hit anybody at least.
Brunson and LaMelo are like, they almost would seem like the height gap is even bigger because Brunson is he's 6'2", and apparently a legit 6'2", but he looks short. Like, he just projects 5'11".
I think it's because he's thick. I think it's because
he's a thick boy.
He's a thickum. Like, he's also
like the only modern NBA player who doesn't have like telescopic arms that don't seem like they fit his body. You know what I mean? He has like regular person arms for a 6'2" person.
He doesn't have a negative wingspan, but he does not have a plus wingspan, that's for sure.
Yeah, he certainly does not. Yeah. I think Brunson defensively might have a hard time in this matchup, but I just don't think LaMelo can. Brunson's he's going shoulder to chest, he's doing all the million pivots, hitting those little flip shots over him. I mean, he does
I think
this
the
to
thing
6'8",
about Brunson
super
too,
athletic
though,
defensive wings all the time. He'll do it
I was
to
gonna
the
say
middle too.
the thing that Brunson that makes him seem like less big, also to be honest, is that he doesn't have that like otherworldly athleticism. Like he's not like an Anthony Edwards who like he's Anthony Edwards is not like huge. He's regular sized for a guard now, but he's not massive. But he's got this like explosiveness and just like raw athleticism that Brunson doesn't have, and Brunson has to. He's like actually Brunson reminds me a lot of like a Kyle Lowry kind of player, or even like a Chris Paul, where they have to rely really hard on like fundamentals and being strong and like leaning into the fact that like they're short but stout, and just that like low center of gravity. Like they take care of the ball. They've got bags, like they've got footwork. They can shoot from distance. Like they've got they got handles. Like they got all that. But they don't have that like otherworldly athleticism that just makes them seem so smooth like Shea or so explosive like Ant or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Like it just and that somehow makes him feel smaller. Like he
Yeah,
seems
he's like
more
a
spiritually like a Kyle Lowry or a Chris Paul, which are shorter than Brunson.
mm.
But he just feels more like them than he does, and I think because he's just a thicker dude, but he just feels more like them than he does like a Donovan Mitchell or any of those guys.
He, in some ways, he scores almost like how certain like big smooth like scoring wings do. A lot of like the step throughs and step unders and the decel and excel and stuff like that. He kind of feels like he'd be like a smooth 6'9" wing, but he's a 6'2" point guard.
Yeah,
You know
totally,
what I mean?
100%.
But the handle is nice though, and I just don't think LaMelo can guard him. I got Brunson winning this one by like a couple points, not like by a ton. But
I don't
by
think
a couple
LaMelo
points.
can guard anything actually. So
I think LaMelo will try at least one or two things to try to try to embarrass him, and like whether or not they come off or not depends on whether or not he can win this game.
LaMelo is a chaos
Brunson
agent
goes
at
through.
the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah. He might try some silly shit. He might try to throw himself off the backboard or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's your third matchup?
I just realized I missed a big opportunity here. But I had Steph and Luka, which is another height disparity situation.
I mentioned he was the first person I mentioned when we were talking about it before the show, and I just forgot to put him on my list.
Steph's an interesting one because I don't think many of us think of him as a one-on-one player in the sense that he's just constantly moving and just getting the ball in different positions and whatever, and moving off of players. But I think he's just got but his handle package is insane. Like, he's got a deep bag, and I think he could go one-on-one. Plus, like, he's got that range where he can shoot from outside, and you have to guard him legit because he can just step into three-pointers.
You gotta press him for the entire one-on-one game, and it's probably gonna be really fucking exhausting.
100%. And like Luka will get cooked because he's not a good defender. But I think that and Luka's bigger, so that'll be interesting for Steph on defense. But Luka also has like, he's not a fast player like Steph, but he's got the deceleration that deceleration is like a really intense, like he's got he's like one of the best decelerators in the league, which is a movement that is like shockingly difficult. And it's one of those moves that throws people off the most, right? He goes from like going full speed to like he's stopped and you're 2 feet away all of a sudden. You're away from him all of a sudden and can't like contest his shot. Plus Luka can shoot over him. Luka has
shoulder to chest. You're going shoulder to chest. That is a big boy.
And Luka's definitely got like a post game that Steph has, but he's just shorter, so it's going to be harder to pull off. But I don't know. I think it would be really interesting. I don't even know who I would take in this series. This one's tough for me actually because like it's whoever gets the ball first. Honestly, I think so because they're both going to score. It's going to be hard to defend each other.
Yeah, neither one can stop the other. Whoever starts with the ball and whoever misses, if somebody else misses one shot, they're losing. Like it's over.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I have Shea over Ant, and I think I have Kyrie over Trey.
Yeah.
And then I would mess with my matchups after this next bracket. I'll explain why. But who's your next one? Who's your last one?
Kyrie beating Chris Paul, obviously. He was just there for legacy reasons. I got Shea beating Harden, Brunson beating LaMelo, and I got DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine as my fourth first-round matchup. We want all the high degree of difficulty shots. We want all the oohs and ahs from the NBA players who love that shit. Former teammates and also current teammates. It could be kind of fun, you know.
Fair enough.
Two cool guys. I got LaVine taking it. Because I think at least a couple of them shots are going to be from three, and I think that'll give him the edge. So I got LaVine going through. It's going to be a goofy matchup in the second round, but we'll see how that goes.
I have my last one is probably the most like rounded matchup I have of all of these, and I have Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I realized I missed an opportunity to have the meet off in the first round with Shea and Donovan. I realized this is we were talking. I was like, oh fuck.
Not on national television. We can't do that.
I missed an
NBA
opportunity.
TV only.
I missed a chance for the meet-off.
Damn.
That's what I meant about I'll fuck with my second round brackets to make sure the meet-off happens. But I actually think Devin Booker would probably take this one. I think Devin has a deeper bag, but they're both. This is probably my most evenly matched like bracket because both of them are great one-on-one scorers and just generally as scorers. But they can both. They're similar sizes. So there's not really like a big height disparity. They're both similar like styles of guard. They've got some finesse, but they're also both pretty strong. So they both get to the basket, but they can shoot from the outside. They've got pretty deadly mid-range games. I think I trust Devin's mid-range game more, and it might come down to that, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that Donovan's a more athletic player. He can get to the rim better. He's a better dunker, obviously. But I think that Booker's mid-range game, that Kobe-esque mid-range game, would probably put him over the top. But yeah, I have those two as my last bracket. I think I'm going to go Devin Booker here, but again, it might be one of those situations of who gets the ball first.
I think that's a good pick.
Yeah. I'm disappointed in myself for not having a first round meet off, though. That was my bad. I'll take it.
Gotta save that for a little bit later. You can't just lead off.
Seems like a final. Seems like it needs to be a final.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how far Donovan gets.
Yeah, I think I would take Devin over Donovan Mitchell, though. Unfortunately, I hate that I have to take a Kentucky guy over... No, you know what? Fuck it. I'm taking Donovan. I'm taking a Louisville guy over Kentucky. Fuck Kentucky.
I forgot he played at Louisville. I'm gonna be honest, I did not remember that.
Fuck Kentucky.
The rightful rookie of the year, Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, screw it. You know what? I'm taking Donovan. We're taking the Go Cards. Fuck the Wildcats.
See, I got Kyrie.
Is it a bad reason to choose someone? Probably. Do I care? Also, no.
Nah, fuck that. So I've got Kyrie and Shea in the second round, and I've also got Brunson against Levine. This isn't to dispel any notions of Knicks bias, but I actually just think that Levine would take. I think he'd beat Brunson. Unfortunately,
I think he's bigger, and I think he's
Tall as
got way
hell.
more athleticism.
He hella tall. He can shoot over the top. Brunson, he's not a Chris Paul-esque stout boy defender. He's not in a situation where he can just take charges and shit and get steals and help defense. Like he's probably gonna get cooked. Kyrie and Shea, that is.
I have that as my
It's
second
gonna
round
be
too.
an aesthetically pleasing game of basketball. Let me tell you, that shit. I feel bad that it's not a final, but oh my god, that shit is gonna look cool as hell. It's gonna look like an M1 mixtape in the best way possible. I just have faith in Kyrie in a one-on-one matchup. I think his shit is so cool.
I agree.
think he's gonna be Shea.
He's just so much smaller than Shea. He's just so much smaller.
It feels weird because Shea's bigger and a better defender. I just don't think anybody one-on-one, no help, nothing is stopping. I just think Kyrie's that good.
Nobody makes circus shots like Kyrie. Like, Kyrie can hit shots over in traffic and shit that I don't think anyone else can. So I'm with you. I have Shea and Kyrie in my second round, and then I chose Luka over Steph in the end. I think just Luka's got the size that will, at the end of the day, hurt Steph. Yeah. Like, Steph is more likely to miss. I mean, he never misses from outside, but he's been struggling a little more than the last couple of years. Like, he's not prime Steph anymore. So I think that I would take Luka over him. Just that size difference makes... And I think Luka would be more motivated to play defense in a one-on-one situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I've got Shea, Kyrie, and then I've got Mitchell and Luka.
Okay.
And I think Mitchell would beat Luka.
Interesting.
Well,
so,
it's tough.
He's got a size disadvantage a bit there, too.
Yeah, but he's a way stronger defender. And also, closer in size. And I think that Donovan's a way more... I think Donovan can get to the rim against Luka in a way that that Steph might not be able to. Like, Donovan's much more of a force going downhill, and he's going to just dunk over Luka. Like, he will posterize. He's going to try and posterize Luka, which would be kind
might
of
as well.
Yeah. So wait, who's your... And then, you've got Levine over Brunson, right?
Yeah, I got Levine taking Brunson.
So
I've got Kyrie and Zach.
I'd probably take Kyrie.
I'm taking Kyrie. I don't think he's losing. I think Kyrie's going to... I don't think Zach Levine can guard that man.
I would have Kyrie against Mitchell, and I think I would take I would take Kyrie over Mitchell, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a Kyrie versus Giannis final. Don't know. I'm sorry, Giannis is winning. He's so goddamn big.
I think I've got a Kyrie versus KD
He's
final.
so strong.
If I remember. I don't even remember I didn't even write down who I won the bigs. I think it was KD. So I think I would probably, I have a Kyrie KD final.
That one makes a little more sense. I think that one's a little bit more of a play. Because even though KD's way taller and obviously can post up, I think just there isn't 100-pound weight difference.
Yeah.
Or 60 or 70 or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it'd be like that net Celtics series all over again when Kyrie's like, let me guard, Celtics Bucks series where Kyrie was like, let me guard Giannis.
Right. Yeah.
And that ended poorly for everybody.
At least, get low, get into his body or something. I guess Giannis, he might just swat him away. I got Giannis winning the whole tournament, which is weird. He's probably the least one-on-one-ish guy as far as what people think, but I got him winning the whole tournament.
Sheer strength will do that for you.
Yeah, he's shit, dude.
He is big as
Strong as
shit.
hell. He can handle the ball just well enough to.
Yeah.
Once he gets that shoulder past you on that first step, I'm sorry. Like you hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you have just been dunked on. Sucks.
You've been
It sucks.
You will be on a poster. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tough life.
You know who we've
Hard work.
forgotten this whole thing that would have been kind of interesting also? I mean, there's a lot of players, but John Morant.
He's a really interesting one. I never really know where to place Morant in the
Neither.
hierarchy of dudes.
Yeah, same.
I don't get to watch him as much as I would like to.
Neither. Yeah.
Some of that is my fault. Some of that is
His fault.
other people's fault.
And also just his own, too, a little.
Yeah.
With things that have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. One-on-one would be fun. I just don't think that... I think that the dudes have egos that are far too big for this to ever happen in real life. I just don't think that they would be able to handle it. Like, I don't think you could have a situation where Aaliyah Edwards smokes Brianna Stewart and she's on Twitter being like, hey, congratulations to the youngin'. I don't think you'd ever see that in the NBA, and I don't think that an NBA player would want that.
Now, though, I'm excited about the 2-on-2 NBA WNBA crossover at men and women's NBA Jam combo tournament. That shit would be so fucking dope. That shit would be so dope.
Let's do some TikTok content and come up with our teams for that. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah. Some little NBA Jam graphics.
Yeah, I'm down. I guess quick, we should probably wrap up soon, but we wanted to do a little vibe check here on just each pick a team, do a quick vibe check. You can go first. Who do you got?
I'm gonna go with the Spurs. Unfortunately, Victor Wembanyama, they found a blood clot in his shoulder. Luckily, it hadn't traveled to a major organ yet, but they found it in the shoulder. He's down for the season.
Deep vein thrombosis.
Yep. Had to look that one up when I heard it. Yeah, tough situation with the Spurs. I mean, they were kind of like on the cusp of like play-in contention, kind of sort of. They just picked up De'Aaron Fox, but I mean, ultimately, it's one of those things where, as a team, you just want to make sure the guy's good because obviously that shit is dangerous. There's other players who have had similar issues. I know Brandon Ingram had one early in his career. They removed it with surgery. He recovered. He's been playing since.
The Pistons.
Obviously, it was a little bit different for Chris Bosh. He was in his 30s, and it had traveled to a lung.
I was going to say, it ended up in his lung.
Ended his career. He wanted to come back. Doctor said he was going to come back. The Miami Heat were basically like, we don't want you to fucking die. You will not play for us.
Yeah, so, and no team doctor was ever going to clear him.
No.
Osar Thompson? Whichever Thompson is in Detroit. He's back now, though, but that was the thing last year, I think. And then there's another player that I'm whiffing on right now. Oh my god, I just had it in my head. Oh, Christian Coloco.
Right.
So the reason he was not a Raptor anymore, frankly, is because he had some clotting issues, and he was out for like a long time, like almost a year, full year. And the Raptors eventually cut him just because it was tough, but it wasn't really a personal decision. It was mostly just because they weren't really sure if he'd ever actually medically get cleared to play again, to be honest. And then now he's on the Lakers, and he was a late second-round pick, so not as like flashy of a name as the others, but that's one that I do remember happening because it was kind of confusing when he was no longer playing with the Raptors, because he played in the Raptors lineup pretty immediately because we didn't have any bigs, and then he wasn't playing as much, and then it was kind of weird because he disappeared, and Masai was pretty emotional in that. I remember him being pretty like emotional in that press conference. So yeah, the vibes in San Antonio kind of sucks a little bit, but it's also not the worst. I guess if it's going to happen to Wemby, you'd rather it happen now than when they actually have expectations in terms of contention and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
At least the Spurs can potentially end up with a lottery pick now and be probably one of their last lottery picks with Wemby on the roster. Because I believe they didn't trade their pick in the De'Aaron Fox trade, so they still have their own pick. So I think that they have an opportunity to still get a bit more talent on that roster and also potentially figure out what other players are on that roster that they want to keep around, like what they want to do with Keldon Johnston.
Mm.
Jeremy Sochan, I think, will stick around because he's just too good of a defender and kind of gadget guy. Just fits really nicely in that lineup. But I think that it'll give them a chance to figure out what other players they've got around them. I think they've figured out the guard situation with Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox, and like Chris Paul obviously is probably not going to stick around too long, just based on age. But they've got to figure out what other wings they want to have aside from Devin Vassell. I don't know. I think it gives them an interesting opportunity. I mean, Pop is still on the injury report at the end of the day, so it'll be Wemby and Pop can return together triumphantly.
Hopefully, yeah, that'd be nice. But yeah. At least the prognosis seems like something he'll be able to recover from, which is good, because you would hate to see that happen to him at And it was like 2021 for that kind of thing to happen. So
If it
hopefully full
randomly,
recovery for him.
God forbid, but if it had ever become like a career-ending thing, he'd be on that like list of and kind of biggest what ifs of the NBA due to
Right.
injury, if that had ever happened. So I'm hopeful that he'll make a speedy recovery. And
Yeah.
the good news is the Spurs are, well, Kawhi's situation notwithstanding, they're pretty cautious and good about players. So hopefully, and Wemby's got a pretty good head on his shoulders and a pretty good team around him. So I suspect that he'll be well taken care of. Plus, he's got that sweet, sweet French healthcare. If he wasn't an NBA player, he'd have free healthcare.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, my vibe check actually, I was gonna go with the Kings, but I've decided I'm actually gonna go with Grizzlies because the John Morant thing just sort of triggered my memory here. They're very quietly in the top three of the end of the West, but they've been kind of struggling of late. They're John Morant has definitely struggled with injury, and then there was that report that came out. And we were joking with this offline, but there's a Bleacher report that came out that was like, John Morant could be a trade target this summer if there's another early playoff exit. And an anonymous GM said something, and then we're like, who's that anonymous GM, Nico? Or fucking Rob Pelinka?
Man.
But then another Zach Kleiman from the Grizzlies was like, no, he is not available for trade. Please piss off.
We're not trading superstars in their 20s.
Please get fucked.
Who the fuck do you think we are? The
Kindly
Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah, right. Kindly fuck off. Like, we are not the team in Dallas. I do think that, and Jaren Jackson Jr. has been really good for them. They traded Marcus Smart at the deadline. I think they just kind of gave up on that situation, which honestly was fine. They continue to have young players stepping up, like Brandon Clark's back from his Achilles injury. He's been really good this year. They've had some good rookies. I think Jalen Wills, is that one of the rookies? Yeah, he's been really, really good. They continue to draft well. So the Grizzlies are just kind of flying under the radar, but it has been interesting that since John Morant kind of had his interesting little gangster cosplay situation, he's been just injured a lot, which has been kind of shitty. And
yeah, he's had injury problems for some years now, but he's obviously super dynamic when he's healthy.
A part of me wonders,
leading scorer on the team now, which is like a new look for them.
I mean, he became that last year. Like, the one advantage to Morant being kind of out so much last year was that Jaren Jackson really got to like spread his wings in terms of becoming...
Last year it was by default. This year it feels like it's by design. Like, he's genuinely the number one option now.
Yeah. No, well, and I think he's always had that potential because he can shoot from the outside, where Morant's shooting has never been great from the outside. I think this is a great position for John Morant to be in, too, because now he can be that second scorer, but he's a really good playmaker. He's always been a very good assist guy and like a good passer and a good actual point guard. So, and I think it also helps to take him out of the spotlight a little bit, which he obviously struggled with a little bit. So I'm kind of hopeful. Yeah. A part of me does wonder, and this is just speculation though, if like just being injured also like kind of led to some of that shit because he's just like wasn't playing. And so he was like bored. Like, I don't know. And like just being around people that, I don't know, don't seem to have his best interest in mind.
Enablers and shit, for sure.
His family situation seems very fascinating because his dad seems to still be kind of like a wannabe celebrity, which is a little disappointing because they were really tight. And it seemed like when he first came in the league, it was really wholesome how much his family was around him. And then it became kind of like, maybe that's not actually the best thing. I don't know. But I hope that Ja kind of continues to like keep his shit together because he's a really talented player and I think he's a good person. I think he just kind of got sucked into like the life a little bit of being some goofy shit, and people around you thinking they're cooler than they are, thinking they're more than they are, and like kind of riding your coattails when you don't realize it, like just like the classic traps of the NBA and fame, honestly.
Right.
And I think that there's an element of like Ja was never like a highly recruited player and all that kind of stuff, and then he's all of a sudden really famous and he kind of wants to pretend he's harder than he is, and it's like, you don't have to pretend, man. Like, you're pretty tough on the court. No one disrespects you. I think it's just when you're around people who want to project a certain way and whatever. Everyone figures it out. He's really young, so I'm really hopeful he'll figure it out. And I don't think he's like a terrible human being by any means. He seems to be a pretty good dad and a pretty engaged like person. Just needs like the right people around him. So I kind of hope that he's got that sorted out and that he can get his injury shit together a little bit too. Like, he can figure out what's going on there. And like, I don't even think it's a him thing. Sometimes it just happens. Like, he seems like a guy who takes care of his body. It just, sometimes that stuff happens. Like, can't win them all. I hope that irons itself out a bit, though, because, yeah, he's really fun to watch, and I want the Grizzlies to actually do something in the playoffs for once. Especially now that they're not talking too much shit. They've still got some swagger, but they're not just like being too big for their britches a little bit. You know?
Yeah, a certain vocal presence is no longer Memphis Grizzly, which is probably helping them fly under the radar a little bit more.
Yeah.
He's one of your people.
Whoa. I only identify with that man when he plays for Team Canada and no other time. And even then, it's really hard to do. However, I will say, Ja was also up there speaking a lot of shit, so he's kind of toned it down. Him and Dylan Brooks were not the best for each other, I don't think, in terms of... Speaking of random, it's curling day in Canada, fun fact, and they're actually highlighting the Nigerian curling team. This is the best.
That's what's up.
So happy. Anywho, yeah, it's really interesting. I think that the Grizzlies are fun to watch. I kind of hope they can make some noise in the playoffs, but they're very much just doing Grizzly. They're kind of like back to those like Mark Gasol, Mike Conley Grizzlies where they were really good and no one really paid attention. They're just
some fun teams too. That's a damn shame.
Yeah, that's just classic. You're just doomed to that when you're in Memphis a little bit. But yeah, any other final thoughts before we wrap this bad boy up?
You know, final stretch of the season, almost playoff time, kind of getting there.
Anything you're particularly interested in watching for the last stretch of the season here?
The return of Mitchell Robinson, for one.
Yeah, what's his timeline there? What's that looking like?
Just got cleared for full contact practice, so that's the thing. I don't know how long. They'll probably really being careful with him because of the recent injury history, but I'm excited for that. Boy, Phoenix Suns, I hope they win some games. I'm trying to muster some optimism for the Phoenix Suns. I cannot. I just hope they finish with a winning record.
What do you think happens with KD if they don't do something?
Got it.
Because he only has 1 year left on his contract, right? Next year? This is last year?
Maybe? I'm not even sure, but something's got to change, and trading Booker would be like it'd be like trading Luka in terms of what it means to the fans. And Beal, where's he going?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it seems unfortunately like the Booker thing is kind of the only. Honestly, the Booker is the only person you're actually going to get real assets for, though. Is the shitty part.
Fans will riot.
Yeah, I don't know if microwave Matt Ishbia is going to do that.
They love that man.
Devin, yeah. Well, I mean. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. On a side note, the Suns put out some like social media thing around like All-Star season where they asked a bunch of this is when he became the Suns' all-time leading scorer. Again, trading a dude right after he becomes the franchise's all-time leading scorer would be fucked up. But they asked a bunch of fans like, "Oh, what do you think of when you think of Devin Booker?" When the fans just said handsome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone else was like greatness or like whatever. So when one of them said handsome, I was like, they love him out there. They really do.
Yeah. It is. I love Devin. I hope he stays. So it's obnoxious. I just had to take a picture of something so I didn't lose it. Yeah, I don't know. I hope they don't trade him, but I really don't know what the Suns do to like improve their situation because it's not great.
They better hope the cap doubles somehow.
Well, but even then, I mean, like, fuck these salaries.
Better find oil under the fucking arena.
Seriously, it's crazy because I feel, I don't know. They're in a rough position here, and they still remain the winners of the Eagleton You Blew It Super Hard Complete Buffoonery Award. They remain on top. Or they will be perpetual winners of that award until they either win a championship or blow it up. And even then, they'll still be winners, but, like, it's pretty
Dallas
rough.
Cowboys Memorial Most Expensive 500 Team Possible Award.
Yeah, I thought that was the Hawks.
Yeah, but no, the Hawks are a cheap 500 team. The Cowboys will spend all the money to go 8-8 or 8-9 or 9-8 every year.
Spend all the money on like 4 players. This is true. Yeah, I don't know. Crazy. I'm just hoping we see Brandon Ingram before the end of the season and see what he looks like next to Scotty and IQ. IQ has been kind of looking better now that he's getting back into the lineup and just playing more. It's been a little rocky, but he's barely played this season, so that's been tough, but I think he's starting to figure it out a little more. Watching them play the Heat last night, I was reminded why I was a bit sad we got rid of Davion Mitchell, but also Jamal Shed is basically just Davion Mitchell for a lot cheaper, so cool.
Shed's a hooper.
He is a hooper, yeah. Other than that, I mean, I'm curious to see how the Jimmy Butler situation in Golden State goes, because there was moments where you see flashes of like, yeah, I see the vision. But that team's also old as fuck, and I'm curious to see how Draymond and Jimmy Butler ultimately get along in the locker room, because, yikes. Maybe they can drink enough wine that it'll be okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope Steph is just bringing so much Domaine curry to the locker room. Just cases on cases.
He's gonna buy up a bunch of Jimmy Butler's overpriced coffee.
I wonder if Big Face Coffee is going to expand to San Francisco now.
They gotta compete with Pete's. All that stuff. That's
Crazy. Any final thoughts on the wine that we chose? How do you feel about it in comparison to other Super Tuscans you've had?
$7 wine I've ever purchased for sure.
To be clear,
it's
it's
really
like
good. I like it a lot. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like a $26 wine in Canada.
it's pretty good. I'll be honest, I'm still a Ruffino person, so Modus is still my favorite Super Tuscan. But this one's pretty solid, and I would hit again. I would buy it again. For the price, again, I'd probably still go with Modus because it's the same price. But LCBO apparently hates you and us and won't let us do that. So Antinori it is. But more Italian wine will come for sure. One day we will have the budget for Brunello. One day.
Someday.
But anyway, with that, I guess that's follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Trying to make as much content as we can. Yep, Twitter still exists. Technically, it's really annoying. We're also on Threads.
It works at least 50% of the time.
50% of the time, it's pretty decent. 80% of the time, it's if I see one more fucking ad about Alberta becoming part of the United States, I'm gonna scream. But
oh my god, yeah, it's getting bad.
It's getting real bad out there. A lot of weird shit sponsored on my page that I don't like, but I don't think we're officially on Blue Sky yet. We're gonna hold off there still. But yeah, follow us individually. I'm at Helly the First, and you're Lionel Brokey. Still the best name ever. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Later.